Hello, Katie Jolly.
Hello, Terri Mullen.
This is so fun. So, for those of you that are listening in, Katie and I are good friends. We met through another course. Katie is a licensed naturopath and a licensed brain health trainer with Dr. Amen, and she's super knowledgeable. So, we meet once a week and kind of keep each other accountable. She's also a coach. We just decided as we have these weekly conversations to help each other, we might as well talk to the world that's listening in and share what's kind of on our heart and mind and kind of have a real conversation about something that we're struggling with or just talking about, especially as entrepreneurs. So, right? Does that sound about right?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Terri.
Yeah, real conversation with real women is what we said. And we're going to call it kind of a fun Friday episode. Hello, friend. Are you ready to stop doubting and start believing in the power of your abilities? Welcome to Step Forward with Terri Mullen. I'm a mom to 4 adults, wife of 34 years, a midlife entrepreneur, and your confidence coach who transformed my own doubt into confidence to speak, write my book, start a podcast, and launch my business. Now I empower other amazing women just like you to do the same. Confidence doesn't hide, play small, or diminish its abilities. It actually steps forward. So lean in and learn some strategies to crush that fear, amplify your voice, and build confidence to create your own impact and income. I'm here to encourage you every step of the way. Let's step forward. So for me, we've really been talking about just social media. And as we're growing our online businesses, the positives and negatives of it all, and how it's different than trying to grow your business if you have a brick and mortar store, right? Which is how I grew up, entrepreneurial business, having brick and mortar, kind of just growing an entrepreneurial business that way. But this is kind of a whole other animal. And you, with your background on brain health, have such a great perspective on this. So let's just kind of see what unpacks as we talk about it. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds awesome, Terri.
Okay.
Sounds
Sound
awesome.
any immediate thoughts? Because I know for me, like we've been talking about how we grow our business and yet stay healthy and not addicted to this device, right? Because we're on it. We need to be. Facebook is still the top way you connect so many people. I don't know the data off the top of my head, but so many people are on social media. We're the knowledge industry, like we hear from Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins, is growing rapidly, doing $1 billion a day. And, it's getting more crowded. And there's also this pull to stay on there. So let's just unpack this a little bit. How do you feel about this? Like the issues with your brain from spending so much time on there, not comparing ourselves to others, but yet showing up and trying to serve in a genuine and authentic way, right? That's kind of where I am, like showing up and just
Mm.
being yourself, not comparing to other people, not trying to be like someone else. That the goal is just to show up and serve the person that you're trying to serve and meet them in that place.
Yeah,
So,
I found it really, really interesting because prior to starting the online coaching, social media wasn't even a part of my world
mm,
at all, at all. So when I started last year, the first thing I noticed was that my feed, because I hardly had any friends on social media, because the account was fairly new, and then my feed was just full of coaches who I was
mhm,
friending in the different groups. And I almost felt like as my presence grew on social media, that I was just sucked into this entirely different world.
mhm.
And I was checking my phone, every hour, checking my
Yep.
phone for comments, getting that little dopamine hit. I really felt like I was losing my connection in the real world because it was so easy to flip into the alter universe of social media.
Mm. So well said.
Yeah.
And I think what's really great for people to hear as you and I were talking, and Katie has been on my podcast before. It's an amazing episode that we did. I don't know it off the top of my head. I'll have to put that in the show notes as well. But we did an amazing episode. But just talking with you, you started, like you said, from pretty much zero, and you're at
Mm,
over 3,000 followers. And
mm,
you've
mm.
grown that in a little over a year time or just about a year's time.
Under a
Under
year.
a
So I
year. Oh my
started in
gosh.
October last year.
Wow. And I mean, you post amazing content. You're great. You're so authentic, which just inspires me so much because
Yeah, but
you
every
share.
week, Terry, I'm wanting to come off it. Like I've literally deleted the Facebook app off my phone so many times I can't even count.
Yeah.
I can't even count.
And you still get people commenting because we've been told you have to do that, prime the algorithm, do blah blah
Yeah.
blah, like people, blah. And you've gone against the grain, which this is why I love you, because you're way outside the box, my kind of girl. And yet you continue to draw people in. And so I think what this says is we don't have to get sucked into these things that other people tell us that we have to do, that we can show up and do what's best for us, for our life, set boundaries,
Mm.
and still serve people that we want to help. Right.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think
think,
it's so important from a Dr. Amen perspective. I was in a call last week with Dr. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, sorry. But it was one of Dr. Amen's associates.
mm-hmm,
And he was talking about the clinical research around social media and how it stops us from being able to emotionally regulate. So they've
wow.
shown it in brain scans, they've seen it in clinical trials that social media reduces the amount of our emotional regulatory responses. Okay, so we've got that as the first thing. Then there's other studies showing that social or devices in general shrink the brain's function.
Wow.
Okay, so we've got all this physical stuff happening. And then as humans, when we're going in, because we know it's addictive,
Right.
we know it's addictive. It lights up the same centers as drugs, alcohol, porn, sugar,
Yeah.
the danger centers in the brain.
Right.
And we're willingly enacting with it. And for our business, our online business, we have to go there. So, how do you create safety in that for
Correct.
yourself and for your family?
Correct. So let's talk about that because that's where
Mm,
I am and some of the things that I've done where I'm on it far less. I will make a post in the morning, I will comment, I might check it again in the afternoon, but I'm now putting my phone away at 8 p.m. at night just so that I'm off of it so I can get
mm,
a good night's sleep because I was finding my sleep to be disrupted. And I'm
mm,
an early to bed, early to rise person anyway. So this is really great. I'd love to just dive into a little bit about the emotional regulation because I'd like to
mm,
know if you have
mm,
the answer to that, what that really looks like, and then how we can set boundaries. Because I think this is really
mm,
good for anyone listening in. My audience is women. I don't really have men on here. They're women that are stepping forward, starting businesses. And how do we talk about these boundaries? How do we show up on social media and serve the people that we're trying to help, use our Facebook groups, all these different things, and then set boundaries for our own brain health and our and quality of life so that we can put the priorities with our families and those around us that we love.
mm.
So there you go. I'm throwing two questions out at you. So
Yeah.
what do you what exactly is the emotional regulation? That's kind of an interesting one for me.
Emotional regulation is just the ability to calm down. Really, is the ability to calm down from feeling angry or feeling sad or feeling anxious. It's the ability to calm down. That's all emotional regulation is. And it's a little bit like the thermostat on your air conditioning,
Yeah.
is that if it's getting too hot, if that's anxiety, anger, sadness,
Yeah.
then the thermostat can actually bring you back inside your brain, can actually bring you back to calm and know that you're safe.
Mm,
And I think what happens with social media, and I see it in my children, because they're on YouTube Shorts or they're watching a lot of YouTube and they're getting instant gratification, instant dopamine hits. If they don't like something, they can swipe, you know,
yeah.
right? They're getting constant, constant, constant stimulation. But what is stimulating them is what they like,
Oh, wow,
right? So
that's
if you come
interesting.
into the real world, you're not going to get that luxury
Right.
100% of the time. Like, if I say to the children and they've been on their devices for a period of time, right, get off now, you need to clean your room, there will be almighty chaos.
Wow.
Or say as women, when we're setting up our business and we've done a post and it's really successful and we're getting all these comments and, oh, people like me, people love me, and you get hooked into that and then you have to
Yes.
go make dinner, or you
Yeah.
have to do a part of your business that you don't particularly like, which may be sales, which can be
Yep.
another talk, Sarah.
Yes, we'll
Terry.
have another. Yep, that's going to be our next talk.
So you get less grit, I guess, for the parts of your life that feel hard because you're getting this constant stimulation from social media. Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I'm processing that because it's so interesting. It takes us into this alter universe, right? And
Mm.
everything, it's the feel good. It's everything feels good. It's
Yeah,
not
and it
always
doesn't stop.
reality. Yes, that's correct.
It
And
never sleeps.
yeah, and it can be a bit of a roller coaster because you get frustrated if you don't have a lot of likes or people aren't really commenting rather than just looking at it like, ah, that post didn't resonate. And looking at it
Yeah.
more like a market perspective, it's so easy to go to the place of what did I do wrong? Wherever our brain, especially as women, where it takes us, can
Mm.
be, we have to really learn to regulate that ourselves.
Mm.
And interesting too, when you're talking about the emotional regulation, I'm thinking about the anxiety. We're in a society that's in perpetual state of anxiety, not
Mm.
only with what's going on globally, but just so being on social media and having that constant stimulation. And what a sign or a red flag to step back if we're starting to feel all that anxiety. Like it's
Yeah,
probably what we're holding in our phone.
absolutely. And I think also
I mean, holding in
as
our hand. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, but as people that are going in with a business mindset, right? So you're using social media to drive online connection. That's the
Right,
idea of it.
right,
I think it's really easy to get into this habit of looking at what everybody else is doing, and they might be getting more likes or they might be getting more engagement. And so you actually start to transition your personality or the way that you write, you know? Because I had a few coaches that contacted me and they're like, oh, I really like the way you write. Is it okay if I copy your formatting? I'm like, yeah, fill your boot. I didn't say this to them, but it's still not going to be your voice,
right, right.
you know?
Yeah, this is a hot button for me, just especially like with the AI and things that are happening.
Yeah,
So it's so true. It's so easy to look to someone else and lose who we are. And this is something that I really teach. Like I think no one can be you. There's, as we all know, 8 billion people in the world. There's only one you, your idea, your creativity. Stop trying to be like everybody else. What
yeah.
sells is you. People want you.
Mm,
They want to make that connection with who you are because they resonate with you, not because you're trying to be like five other coaches out there. Right.
yeah.
So
And as we were
that's
talking
spot
about,
on.
Terry, it's really looking at how it affects your family, your mental health, all of that sort of stuff, and being able to put boundaries in. Because as I was sharing, a physiotherapist, so she's highly, highly qualified in her industry. She's just been put into rehabilitation for social media because she's nearly sent the family broke.
With the money, because you shared this with me yesterday. So showing
Yeah,
up because she's spending money on her clothes, trying to look a
yeah,
certain way so that she can show up, go to certain restaurants, very high-end restaurants, to be
yeah, and
seen.
take photos for Instagram.
Wow.
So designer fashion, designer, everything designer, amazing restaurants. Like she'd basically coordinate photo shoots with of her with these really expensive cocktails and platters for social media.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
and I mean that's something to really ponder and pause. And now she's in rehab to detox from the addiction of social media.
Yeah, and she's
Not
got
only
young
the
children. She's got young, they're young. I think her baby is a year, and she's got a
wow.
toddler as well. So that she's got this amazing qualification, degree, professional life, and a very small family, young family. Yeah, sad.
So so I mean that confirms everything you're saying, right? That feeds to the addiction part, the needing to feel accepted, needing to feel seen, and then the addictive part of even going and spending all this money on on all the clothes and here's a highly
Mm,
educated woman.
yeah.
So wow, that's just mind-boggling. It's sad,
Mm,
very sad,
mm,
but
mm,
it goes to the point of everything we've been talking about and how it can really affect us in so many ways to be at
mm.
that degree. So let's talk about just the balance of trying to show up as entrepreneurs and use Facebook to our good, but set
Yeah.
boundaries so that we don't end up in a hospital and from addiction or recovery, right? So we stay
Yeah.
healthy. So what boundaries do you recommend? Because for me, like I said, I turn it off, my phone off now at 8 o'clock at night. For the most part, I'm not perfect, but for the most part, that's what I do. And I'm leaving my phone at home when I'm going on a date with my husband because I that's also an issue. Any downtime,
Mm,
it's like, oh, you got to look at your phone.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so he brings his phone, I leave mine at home now. So, what are other suggestions that you have?
Well, I think it's been interesting. My pattern since I've been online is I get up at stupid o'clock and I sit and I write my post. And so this is at 4 o'clock in the morning
You and
and I
I
write
are
my
two
post.
peas in a
Yeah.
we're two peas in a pod. We're on completely different time zones, but I'm up at 4 a.m. too.
And I'd sit and I'd have my cup of tea and I'd write my post and then reply to the comments and messages, right? So social media was, I'm transitioning from this habit, right? Because I think that everything that we instill in our lives are habits. And when
Yeah.
they become ingrained, we need to learn to change them. And the voice in my head has continually been saying for the last couple of months, don't give away the most powerful time of the day to somebody else,
Mm. Oh, that's a golden nugget. Don't give
you know?
away the most powerful time of the day to someone else.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So for everybody listening, and I'm not teaching from one step ahead, Terri. I'm still working on this.
Yeah. Well, that's what
But,
makes you amazing because
yeah,
we're
yeah.
all in it together. We're all a work in progress. But go ahead. I don't mean to interrupt you.
But you're okay, you're okay. But looking at it, and I know that in the morning, first thing in the morning, that's the time that I'm probably most at peace. That's the time that traditionally I've exercised, meditated, done prayer. And what I've realized is that I am giving that away.
Mm.
So I'm like, okay, that habit actually needs to change. It needs to change because since doing that, I'm normally mentally kind of a bit burnt out, you know?
Mm. Yeah.
Whereas normally if you find something in the morning, if you're a morning person or whenever you wake up, you find something that fills your cup.
Yeah.
So changing that social media habit. And then what I've started doing is actually I will write a post in the evening and then so you're prepping, like you were talking about, planning your posts,
Yes. Yes.
planning your posts, and then I will actually take the app off my phone.
Great. Do you schedule it if it's a written post? Because that's the other thing that I
I
do
haven't done that
now.
yet.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
that too. I now will schedule about 3 a week. You can't reschedule your reels, but you can schedule your written posts. And I just forget
Mm.
about them. I write them and then they just schedule out. Yeah, so that's fabulous. That's a great boundary and things to set in place. So you do it
Yeah,
the night
that's awesome
before.
too. Yeah, yeah, writing the night before. And then I think it's getting really clear, as we chatted about last week, getting really clear on what social media is for you.
Yes.
That
Yes.
it's there for your business. Getting some clarity around what you actually want out of it
Mm,
rather than getting sucked into the vortex
mm,
of just mindlessly scrolling. And also that the majority of people, they might be liking your posts or, sending you a little heart or sending you nice comments. It's understanding that nothing beats real human connection,
mm. Yeah. 100%. A hundred
because
percent.
that's the statistically, loneliness has the same health deficits to create chronic long-term illness as smoking,
Wow.
if not worse.
Wow.
So, and I think that this is what the core of it is for the addiction with social media is I'm not enough. I need
Mm,
people to like me.
mm.
If we really unpack it, people just want connection.
Yeah, absolutely true. And so that feeds that part of that loneliness by somebody out there in the world connecting with them and approving, liking, commenting,
Yeah.
and you feel that connection. Wow,
So
spot on.
behaviorally, if you think of Pavlov's dog, of the
Mm-hmm.
bell ringing, right?
Yep. Yes.
So, and this is what I've noticed. I kind of went through this is I would do a post and it would do really, really well. And I get lots of comments. And then I would think, oh my gosh, I need to do lots more posts like this,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Pavlov's dog. So
Right.
you actually start creating your content for the likes and the comments rather
Mm-hmm.
than really thinking about what is your messaging.
Mm.
And that's where I kind of found that I went off track, because I'd write all these stories about myself and my family and all the stories from the past. But to be completely honest, yeah, it was helping mindset, but it was only a blip in the ocean of all the brain health stuff I know.
Yeah. Which you
You know,
are plethora of information. You have
yeah, but what I was
so
doing
much
on my
knowledge.
feed was just going for the likes and the comments rather
Mm.
than really thinking about my messaging.
So you're giving dessert. I think we talked about this, right? Or
Yeah, yeah,
giving
yeah.
like a hearty appetizer rather than really the healthy meal, like the full main course, which
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
really your
yeah.
knowledge and wisdom and really helping people, nourishing people,
Yeah,
fully
yeah.
nourishing them with what you're really trying to do. Wow, that's
Yeah.
really
And
insightful.
then understanding that for everyone that's listening who is coaching or selling something online, the idea of being online is to get people in,
Right,
is to
right,
get people in your door. So not getting lost in the need to be seen, liked, commented on, is to really sit back and analyze the strategy.
right. And use it for what it is. Use it as a
Yeah,
tool. Use it,
yeah.
be a content creator, not just a consumer. Like we just talked about, I keep thinking food, but not sitting there and just eating is kind of what I'm thinking. Like you are actually, you're creating the meal, you're giving it to people, you're showing kind of who you are rather than just sitting back and just consuming. Because that's where
Yeah.
we all get lost is just that consuming, that scrolling and trying to be like everybody else, I think is what you were saying is very, very powerful.
Mm,
So really,
mm,
really insightful. And I think that's it too, Katie, is that when we learn that it's not all bad, nothing is ever all good or all bad, right? So when we learn that we can use it for our best good and use it as a tool, that's how we can really grow our business and meet our clients where they are and help people make the world a better place, right?
mm, mm.
So that's what I'm in the same place. I'm in the same
Yeah, yeah.
place.
And I think, there's like the dopamine detox movement that's trending, but I think it's really important to put your phone away, set periods of the day, or, have a day off, and understand that necessarily that, less can actually be more.
Mm, yeah,
If you, and that's what I've noticed with some of my posts, Terry. Like I can put a post in, and what will happen is if you've got a lot of people commenting, then you can milk. This is what we've learnt through our old coach as well, is you can milk that post as well for a few days
right.
by staggering your comment replies. But I think it's protecting your peace. It's so important.
I love that. Like what Trent Shelton says, protect your
Yeah.
peace. You really
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
because otherwise, then you're not serving anyone. Yeah, I agree with you. Very much protect
Yeah.
your peace. And it's so interesting as you were talking about your boundaries in the morning because you and I are very similar. Mornings are my sacred time as well. And so now, again, I'm not perfect about it, but my goal is to leave my phone next to my bed or wherever it is and go outside and watch the sunrise. Have my cup of
Mm,
coffee. I sit out there with my dog and just relax. Sometimes I'm just there in the quiet, listening to the birds, watching the sunrise. I mean, nature is very soothing and healing for me, and I have to
mm,
be outside. I have to see it. And sometimes I take my journal, but I just sit there until I feel okay. And I kind of know in my own spirit, okay, I'm done. This is good. But when I fill up like that, my day is so different. And I keep thinking, social media is going to be there in 2 hours. It's okay. It's not
yeah.
going to, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And again, like I schedule my posts now, like on the written, so I don't even worry about it on those days. But it's when I have to do the reels or something that I'm doing. 3 days a week now. I'm scheduling the posts. I'm not.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I said to Scott, my husband, I'm like, where have I been? How long has this been available? Where has the scheduling availability been that I wasn't paying attention? So,
Yeah.
anyway, that's one of my
Yeah.
things too, the boundaries that I use. So, really
Yeah. I
good.
mean, even the what I did start doing, which doesn't work for reels, or this is what I said last week, and I've reneged on it. But I said about taking it off my phone, taking Facebook off my phone, and then working on my laptop so that it creates a complete boundary between work and personal time.
Oh, that's actually really good.
Because I'm much less likely to come and sit at my laptop all day or keep checking my laptop every 5 minutes. But because generally my phone is on me or it's on the kitchen top, it's there. So I keep going to the app.
Yes. That's actually quite interesting a way to do that. I mean, and I don't sit well for long periods of time. I'm just not great.
Mm,
I like to move around. But that's interesting. The downside for me with that is that I take all my pictures on my phone. So I'd have to
yeah.
upload them. It just would be a little bit more work. But another great boundary where you have to sit down and you have to do it on your computer versus just
Well, I
having it on
think
your hand.
I did a course years ago on addiction, and the lady who was taking the course, she said an addiction is anything that harms your life.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So there was a woman, I don't know if I told you this story, Terry. There was a woman in the group who said that she had an extremely stressful job. Every day she would come home and she would sit in the spa pool for hours and hours, and she wouldn't make dinner for her children. She didn't spend any time with her family. She would just sit in the spa pool with a glass of wine.
Wow.
Right. So the teacher asked the class, is this an addiction? And of course it is. So I think it's understanding with social media that we know that it fires the addictive centers in the brain.
Hmm.
It's a necessary evil, or there are good parts to it. There are good parts to it, but it's looking, okay, how do I put a boundary around it? Just like this woman sitting in the spa pool,
Right.
and how do you put those boundaries in place? Like you're saying,
Right.
scheduling your posts, for me, taking the app off my phone and just working on my laptop,
Right.
setting specific times, because we know that it's addictive. So we need to put some firm boundaries in place to protect our peace.
Mm. Beautiful. Really well said. And I think this is why you're so good at what you do, because you bring in this brain health component to it. And I think, like with anything, like you're saying, that anything in life, anything, there are addictions in all levels, right? So
Mm,
nothing's ever all bad or all good, right? So we just
mm,
have to learn this is balancing life and learning to set boundaries. And it's a tool we need to really connect with people. I love doing the videos. I think videos are so powerful because it's a way people get to know, like, and trust us. But that doesn't mean we have to sit and be consuming it all day long, right? So,
mm,
and that's why, too, like with the podcasting, which I know we'll talk about more in the future, but that's why I love the podcasting too, because you can get in, kind of talk, boom, done. But anyway, this is just really powerful. I think it's
mm,
so helpful. I think, for anyone that needs more help with brain health, definitely reach out to you. I'll always who you are, where they can contact you here in the show notes because it's what makes you so great at what you do. You have such a breadth of knowledge, not only with health, physical health, with your nature path, but also the brain health and how that's connected mind, body, spirit.
mm.
So,
And I'd just like to, you're very good at trumpeting other people or acknowledging and lifting other people up, Terry. But I'd like to acknowledge you, because the power that you have of helping people to find their voice,
thank
and
you.
find that clarity and find that authenticity. Because as new coaches, it's something that we all struggle with,
Yeah.
is how do I find my voice in this space?
Yeah.
And that's your gift and superpower. So I'm
Thank you
I'm
so
blessed
much.
to have met you. Yeah.
Well, likewise, we have this mutual love affair with one another. Both happily married, but we were laughing about this earlier. So we have girl crushes on each other. Anyway, but that's just really helpful. I think for anyone that's listening in, that's a coach, that's stepping forward with their business and trying to figure out how to find that. I've heard Dean say integration with their life,
Mm,
not so much balance, whether that's true or not, but keeping that peace, finding that integration, how you integrate your work life and your business so that you can have that freedom to make choices. That's why most of us are doing this. Number one, to share who we are, to share our experience, what we've been through, to try to help people get to where they want to be faster and with much less
mm,
pain, hopefully, than what we all experienced. And then also to have the freedom to live our life and to enjoy that time with our family so that we're not constantly consumed by being pulled by other things. And I think that's
mm,
constantly a choice. We have to learn how to set these boundaries so that we can have that freedom in our life, right?
mm. Yeah. And that's what I said to a client last week, who not so much struggling with social media, but just the whole entrepreneur phase. And I said to
Mm,
her that in my mind, the whole idea of being an entrepreneur is about being able to be in control of your own time,
mm-hmm.
So really stepping back and going, okay, am I in control, or is that controlling me?
Yes, spot on.
You
Exactly.
know, and use it as the tool that it's designed for our businesses.
Right. And I think we have to get really good at that. We have to be very intentional. That's also kind of knowing who we are. And I think as we grow, like I'm not the same person I was 4 years ago starting this. And like I've shared with you, I've grown up in an entrepreneurial business, but it was brick and mortar store. So this is completely different. And I saw my parents actually get consumed with their business. That there were issues there. My parents divorced. And so I think we all have to kind of set these boundaries and make sure that it's working for us. This is all part of our growth too. As wonderful as it is, it's a wild ride. There are ups and
Yeah.
downs. We need people like we have here where we're supporting each other, going, yes, you can do it, keep going. Um, and also talking about the boundaries. How do we set these boundaries in our life so that we can be healthy people and serve others? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Terry.
So I think that's great. I think that's, what you were even sharing with your client. I think that's really great. We have to figure that out. It can be a wild ride. And in all parts of it, we have to set these boundaries to help keep us grounded. So anyway, any final thoughts? This has been so great today. I hope this helps people because I think if we're feeling this, I know other people out there are, right? It's not really overwhelmed sometimes for me. It's more just feeling pulled in a lot of different ways and really
Yeah.
pulling back and saying, what's working, what's not working, what boundaries do I need to set for myself, particularly with social media. I feel a lot better in the last few, couple months, especially cutting back a little bit more and being
Mm.
really clear on that. So, anything else you'd like to add to bless anybody here?
Well, I think that a really big part of it is stepping back and
Mm,
looking rather than your step forward, stepping back and looking at it for what it is and try and get really clear on the messaging. Like
mm-hmm,
if you're going into that social media space, getting really clear on messaging for yourself
mm-hmm,
and then knowing what, it's like anything, how much investment do you put into that for creating connection versus getting out into your community?
right,
Like what we're talking about all the other areas that you can actually connect in with other humans,
right,
not making social media your one method of connecting.
right.
Like you were saying with your hairdressing business, how you had lots of eggs and lots of baskets.
Yeah. And it was the connecting with people, making them feel really good about themselves. Yes, I was great at doing hair color, but I was also really great at making people feel good about themselves, women in
Mm,
particular. But that's it. And I was just thinking as you were talking that if you watch like Brendon Burchard now, what some of these people are doing, where they're having these in-person meetings, they're getting coaches and entrepreneurs together once a month in person so that they can connect, so that they can share business ideas with them and hold each other accountable, but they're having that
mm,
human connection. It's not just being on Zoom. And it's a need. We're human no matter what. We need that,
yeah.
right?
Oh, that's an idea for you, Terry Mullen.
Oh, what is it?
Well, just maybe holding some
Mm,
in-person workshops where the people come with
mm. Gonna make me cry.
with
That's
their
on my list.
laptop and yeah, you
Mm,
know, and their
mm.
ring light and their Yeti.
Ah,
You
that's
know?
so, wow. Yeah, that's on my list is to do in person, not so much
Yeah.
just the online, but to actually be in connection and communication with people in person. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
that's
think
my sweet spot.
people are just so
Mm,
hungry for connection, particularly after COVID and just the levels of loneliness and disconnection and mental health.
yeah.
It's understanding, again, like you said, that social media is a tool, but what's the real need and being able to diversify across our business, that if we've got a message like step forward and speak up, using your voice like you have, this amazing message of empowering people,
Mm,
being able to diversify as well.
yeah. And you too,
Because
shine your light.
yeah, like that's the real definition of addiction is that you're addicted to one thing
Mm,
generally. You may be addicted to multiple things, but there will be one thing driving that constant hunger.
yeah. Spot on. Really spot on. And at the end of the day, we have to stay connected to our humanness in the way God wired us to be. We are human, and we need that. We need that tangible, give someone a hug, look somebody directly in the eye, and just sit down and have a conversation. And anyway, I agree. Spot on. So addiction is one thing, and anything that, like you said, you do one thing too much, pay attention, step back,
Yeah.
and set some boundaries. Not step forward, but step back. Well, I think this has been awesome. I'm looking forward to airing this. So this is kind of our fun Friday, just our kind of get real, just have a raw conversation. So thank you for doing this with me. I'll put all of Katie's notes here in the show notes where you can connect with her. She's amazing as a naturopath and as a brain health coach. And I'll put my stuff in here too. So thank you all for listening in. I hope you have an amazing day. Any final words, Katie Jolly?
No, thank you, Terri Mullen.
You're welcome. All right. God bless. Have an amazing day, everybody. Well, I hope this episode really blessed you today and you had a few key takeaways that you can implement in your own life and business. If so, could you take 30 seconds and leave me a review? Because it blesses me to know that this podcast is helping you. And don't forget to click subscribe so that you can catch each episode. Until we meet again, may God bless you and may you continue to step forward.